So now that I have all of the edges banded and veneered with the birch veneer, I'm ready to start putting in some holes for the pocket screws. So for that I'm going to be using some pocket hole jigs. This one is the 2-barrel pocket hole jig. It's the R3, and I have it set to three quarters of an inch. For the thickness of the stock we're working with, the plywood is 3/4 of an inch, and the wood we're going into at that angle is also 3/4 of an inch. So we'll be using, you could use the single barrel if you'd like. I like the double barrel. I'm going to be doing this on my work table, and I have an integrated Kreg clamp, which makes it a lot easier to insert those holes. And I tend to use 2 drills for this, one with the drill bit, and I'll use the other one for the Kreg driving bit. So what I'll do is, for the top cabinet, there's a top board and a bottom board, and each of those will receive 3 holes on the top side of the top cabinet and the bottom side of the bottom piece, so they won't be visible when you open the cabinet and look inside. You won't see any pocket holes. If you're looking from the bottom, you would be able to see them, but you can always either fill those later or put a real thin piece of 1/4 inch plywood over those and completely hide that. So if the next series of actions you're going to see, I'm going to be drilling those holes and then using a right angle clamp to connect those pieces together. And for the base cabinet, I'm going to repeat that same process, but it'll just be the bottom board. The bottom board will also receive 3 or 4 holes and get connected to the side cabinets. For each of these cabinets, I'm going to be offsetting the top and bottom boards for the top cabinet by about 3/8 of an inch from the top and 3/8 of an inch to the bottom. And the bottom cabinet as well, I'll bring that bottom board up about 3/8 of an inch, so it's not resting flat. And it probably look a little better if I do that. So let's go ahead and get started drilling our holes. Okay, so I'm about to connect my bottom board here, okay, which is my 3 pocket screws, into my sideboard. This is for the upper cabinet, and this process will be repeated for the bottom cabinet as well, so I probably would just show it in this part here. So what I've done here is I've drawn a line right here, 3/8 of an inch up from the bottom of this board, and so that'll give it a little bit of a recess up. You don't need to do that. If you wanted to have it sit flush with this edge, you could. If you wanted to, that's fine. I'm just kind of doing it. I think it may look a little better when you open the cabinet, but we'll see. So the important things I'm going to need here, I want to make sure that this front edge is nice and flush and lined up there. Okay, so this is I want the veneered edges out. So this is my veneered edge. This is my veneered edge. It's nice and flush right there, pretty close to it. And I'm going to line this board up with the line I drew for that 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to kind of show this as I futz with this here a little bit. It's one of the disadvantages of working with pocket screws for this type of joint is it can be a pain to line up. And that's not the case with, see, it just went and moved on me. It's really not the case with grooves and dados once we start building the other cabinet, but it is what it is. So I'm going to use this right angle clamp from Kreg, and I'm going to put it in the first hole, the middle hole, squeeze it in. Now that'll keep it lined and tight. Okay, and re-verifying my alignment in the front, still flush, looking flush in the back as well. In this particular cabinet, you can see, I'll turn this so you can see this. I have my groove right here for the back piece, and this bottom board runs right into the start of that groove, and that's exactly where I wanted it. So the back board will actually come down here, and we can attach the back board right into this bottom board and the top piece. So at this point, I'm going to grab my drill and some pocket screws. I'm going to put the front one in, the back one in, and I'll take the right angle clamp out, and we'll do the middle. And then we'll rotate this around. We'll repeat this process for the top part of this cabinet. So let's get going here. So I'm using a rigid impact wrench for this with the long Kreg extension. And these are 1 1/4 inch coarse pocket screws. Perfect. You want to make sure they don't go through the other side. If it goes through the other side, that means you need to probably adjust your jig so it doesn't put the drill bit out as far, the drill hole. So I'm going to drive this one in. Good. Mine are actually, this one's not coming through. This one came through a little bit, so I'm not going to overdrive them. All right, now I can take my clamp off. Okay. And I can do the middle joint, the middle screw. Okay, good. It didn't come through. Perfect. Great. All right, so this bottom piece is in. I'm going to flip it around and do the other one.